Ever since Election Day, Donald Trump has been doing a lot of posting and musing about Canada becoming the 51st state or buying Greenland or taking over the Panama Canal. And this isn't some real cohesive plan from Donald Trump. He's not smart enough to accomplish any of those things, nor does he think he can. What this is about is distracting from the plans and promises he can't fulfill. The campaign promises he already has admitted won't come true. Lowering costs of groceries and housing and energy, things that Donald Trump is only going to make worse because Canada is imposing tariffs on him. The same tariffs Donald Trump said were going to make America more successful than anyone could ever imagine. And Donald Trump is really upset with Canada right now because Justin Trudeau just went public with all of that. Not just the way that tariffs are going to impact energy costs in America, but what Donald Trump is really trying to do with all these ridiculous posts. And that led Trump into a meltdown as we'd expect, and we are going to get into that tantrum. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me. Now, let's get into this interview with Trudeau that made Trump so mad.
President-elect Trump has been needling you a bit, calling you Governor Trudeau, talking about making Canada the 51st state. Did you have any interaction with him today?
No, not today. But that's not going to happen. Canadians are incredibly proud of being Canadian. One of the ways we define ourselves most easily is, well, we're not American. There is such a depth of pride that that's not actually an issue. What I think is happening in this is President Trump, who's a very skillful negotiator, is getting people to be somewhat distracted by that conversation, to take away from the conversation around 25% tariffs on oil and gas and electricity and steel and aluminum and lumber and concrete, and everything the American consumers buy from Canada is suddenly going to get a lot more expensive if he moves forward on these tariffs. And that's something that I think we need to be focusing on a little bit more.
Did the re-election of Donald Trump and this more direct confrontation with Canada over this issue play any role at all in your decision to resign as leader of your party and prime minister?
No, on the contrary. What we were able to do during the first presidency of Mr. Trump's was work together in a very challenging situation to come out with a very strong win-win in Canada-U.S. relations with the renegotiation of the USMCA. It is a great deal for both of our countries. We've seen trade grow, we've seen opportunities grow, we've seen wealth grow in both of our countries for workers, for businesses. Working together concretely is something that we've been able to do in the past, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with him for the next 2 months while I'm still in office.
Let's talk about this potential 25% tariff from the United States on Canada. Economists say that will drive the Canadian economy into a recession, and the Canadian government is preparing retaliatory tariffs if these actually go through. Which do you think would be potentially the most effective against the United States? I don't want them, by the way, just as an American, I don't want these tariffs, but minerals, energy?
We don't want them either. We do not want to see tariffs on our side. We do not want to see tariffs on your side. It's bad for people who have, for generations, made things together and been successful together to actually start creating barriers between economies like ours. Like, we have so many resources in Canada, more than our market can support, so we export them to our closest friend who can rely on them. It is a win-win for us. We would definitely respond, as we did years ago when President Trump put tariffs on steel and aluminum. We responded by putting tariffs on Heinz ketchup, on playing cards, on bourbon, on Harley Davidsons, on things that would hurt American workers. But we don't want to do that because it drives up prices for Canadians and it harms our closest trading partner.
Is there nothing that Donald Trump is saying about trade status and relations right now where you think that he has a point? There's nothing you think that is unfair?
I mean, the conversation around tariffs started around border concerns. And what I spoke with him about in Mar-a-Lago was the fact that less than 1% of migrants into the United States, less than 1% of fentanyl into the United States comes from Canada. But there are absolutely more things we can do.
And you pledged $1 billion to enhance border security.
We're strengthening. That's a clear win for President Trump. It got us to do even more to reduce even further the minimal amounts coming in. On trade, there's more that we can do, but we should be focused on making sure that we're replacing Chinese lithium or Chinese germanium or Russian titanium into American productions by relying on your closest and friendliest trading partner in Canada. We can be a strong supplier of things that the U.S. needs to compete around the world because we can do it together.
Trudeau just hitting the nail right on the head there, and I don't want to give the same credit that he did to Donald Trump as some great negotiator, but what Donald Trump certainly is good at, and what Steve Bannon has always talked about, is flooding the zone and distracting the media, making sure their focus isn't on what matters. And that's the same for Donald Trump. His focus is not on what matters. And what clearly mattered to the millions of Americans who unfortunately voted for him and have voted against their own self-interest in doing so was cost, housing, groceries, energy. Those things matter, and Donald Trump isn't focusing on them. And in fact, he is doing the opposite. Like Justin Trudeau said, the tariffs on Canadian energy, oil, and gas are going to make things more expensive for Donald Trump and for the rest of America. The thing that Donald Trump expressly said was going to be the opposite, that American energy and the energy that we got from the governments who supply it to us most, the countries that supply it to us most, was going to be even cheaper. Now that's not the case. And we know Donald Trump understands this, and it's the reason why he lashed out against Justin Trudeau and really all of Canada, saying this in a recent press conference.
A lot of them, we don't need Canada for that. We don't need Canada for lumber because we have big forests that we have, not utilized. In some cases, they're protected, which I can take that protection off. And you take down a tree and you grow a better tree. And that's, pretty common. But we don't need anything. We don't need their fuel. We don't need their energy. We don't need their oil and gas. We don't need anything that they have. And I said to Trudeau, I said, why are we subsidizing you $200 and $250 billion a year? He said, I really don't know. And I said, well, I don't know either. I said, what would happen to Canada if we didn't? He said, Canada would be obliterated if that happened. I said, then Canada should be a 51st state.
No, Donald, we actually do need energy from other countries. It's the reason why we saw a spike in energy costs during the invasion of Ukraine and ever since. It's also the reason why we saw interruptions in supply chains. These things actually have an impact, Donald. It's not just posting for fun. You're playing with people's lives, something Donald Trump clearly still doesn't understand. And it's the reason why he's making up all this nonsense and attacking firefighters, local and state officials in California, and those who are trying to put out such a terrible and devastating natural disaster. And it's because he doesn't care. And it's because he's willing to make political hay of whatever issue is going on right now, claiming DEI or saying Gavin Newsom needs to resign instead of actually addressing the problem and not making a political moment out of this like Joe Biden has. And that's why I thought it was so important that Jessica Tarlov had such a great call out of all this nonsense being pushed about the response to these fires in this clip right here.
But to Greg and Jesse's points about, this is because of DEI or what we need is practical solutions, there is so much bad information swirling around about the main players involved in this, like the fire chief who's been called a DEI hire. I take her resume any day. 24-year vet, paramedic, engineer, fire inspector, captain, battalion chief, fire marshal, deputy chief. I don't know.
But you're proving my point.
No, I'm not proving your point.
Yes, you are. You're proving it because DEI makes everybody suspect.
No,
that is the problem.
and you guys
paraded it around. So now you put it in people's heads.
No, you put it in people's heads.
How? I didn't back DEI. I didn't back it.
Anyway, there's also, which I think...
Now, I wanted to play that clip from Jessica, and it's so incredibly important that it's on the Fox propaganda outlet, and this information is actually getting out there to people who are so angered by all this DEI commentary. But I think it's important to talk about how DEI and this label that MAGA is always throwing and trying to pit blame on, in this case, the Los Angeles Fire Department and their leadership, not because they just want to other different groups, whether it be people of color in the case of Kamala Harris, when Republicans decided to call one of the most qualified presidential nominees in history a DEI candidate, but now in the case of the leadership at the LA Fire Department saying that just because people are straight, white, and male, because they are members of the LGBTQIA+ community, means they're unqualified for their job. It's not just trying to other people that MAGA wants to do there, but who they're appealing to is a lot of people in my generation, in fact, younger, straight white males who feel the economic insecurity of our current time. They want to say that they are limiting your ability to thrive, that they're the reason why you feel economic insecurity. They're the reason why you might not be able to afford a house or groceries, or you feel the pressure of rising prices more than your mom and dad did. That's who they're trying to appeal to in this argument. They don't want to say that it's Trump giving giant tax cuts to Bezos and Musk and Zuckerberg why prices are higher. They don't want to talk about the corporate price gouging that's going on. No. They want to blame DEI when that's not the case. That's the argument that they're trying to make, and we have to call it out. And we're going to on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, even through me dealing with the flu, and I'm sorry if my voice does not sound that great today, still a little bit of congestion up there, but if you want to support the show, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.